This is your life, and it's ending 1 minute at a time.
This war stops now.
End the war. Bring freedom to our people.
No. No more tricks. No more lies. Only truth.
This is where we hold them! This is where we fight!
Welcome to the Stop and Listen podcast. I am your host, Jamie. If you're one of the very few people who follow along with this show, you haven't seen much out of me lately. Last weekend, I mentioned how I'm still working on a schedule for production. And last weekend, I had a lot going on, but I recorded 2 episodes. And I'm like, yeah, man, it'll be no big deal. I'll knock these out, get them, edited, and get them out to you. I got a few clips out there. There's just a lot of shit going on in my life. I'm going through some things at work, having to make some tough decisions, and haven't been able to focus very well. But I'm back. I haven't even been paying attention to the news as much lately, and I'll get into what's going on in detail later. I might explain a little bit more on closing. So, but welcome.
I'm back, baby!
So Tucker Carlson flew to Russia and interviewed Vladimir Putin. Tucker is not the first American journalist to interview Putin. He is the first since Russia invaded Ukraine. And the media is freaking out, saying he's a puppet of Putin and so on and so forth. And I've seen clips of the interview. I haven't watched it in detail. Don't really care too much. Vladimir Putin is a cold, calculating killer, it seems like. He's not Hitler. He's somewhere in between. I remember a few years ago, I was watching a presidential debate. So one of the candidates raised concerns about Russia.
Governor Romney, I'm glad that you recognize that al-Qaeda is a threat. Because a few months ago, when you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia. Not al-Qaeda, you said Russia. And the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back because the Cold War has been over for 20 years. But, Governor, when it comes to our foreign policy, you seem to want to import the foreign policies of the 1980s, just like the social policies of the 1950s and the economic policies of the 1920s. You say that you're not interested.
That was a sad moment. I remember watching that live. He had no, I'm assuming no retort because no one remembers what he said afterwards. They just remember the ridiculousness that Obama threw out there. Sorry, folks. Gotta get my Sharpie so I'm not waving my hands like a lunatic. So, I got this. So, like the 2 episodes I mentioned. I just sometimes I get talking on here and go, and if you guys watch me for an hour or God bless you, like that is awesome. But I'm gonna try to stop exposing you to that, and I've already been going on for a second here. So let's say about 22 minutes. Oh, that's not gonna work. I just wasted my money on that because you're gonna be able to hear that. How does that sound? Awesome. Boy, that was $8 that I'll never get back. Okay, there we go. Well, there goes that one. That was a bright idea that lasted for about 15 seconds. Anyway. I'm stupid. I'm a stupid man. But anyway, clearly the media is projecting a message about Russia, and we are at war with Russia. If we are funding Ukraine, who is fighting Russia, we are at war with Russia. We are at war with Hamas because we are helping fund Israel against Hamas. And the Houthis in Yemen were at war there. Not to mention all the other wars that are brewing up around the world. So, Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Hamas, United States, Yemen, Iran, But like the Iranians, the Houthis, Iranians, and they're... Sounds an awful lot like World War III to me. And everything I've heard from Tucker, I don't consume every bit that he puts out there, but he seems like a man who loves his country and a man who does not want people to die from war. And it sounded like he was brokering peace from what I'd seen. I mean, he's still doing his job as a journalist, exposing truths, but it sounded like he was playing peacekeeper. So this story, this is from February 1st, but just as a quick note, that Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, is sending troops to Texas to defend our border. We need a convention of the states. I have not heard that term mentioned for a while in this country. Clearly, this is showing an opportunity with the amount of governors who are showing solidarity with Texas in protecting America as a whole. America needs to be protected from itself in many ways. We need a convention of the states. And what the convention of the states is, it's each state sends delegates. I don't know every detail, okay? But they each send delegates. And they can pass with, I think, I don't know if it's 2/3 or 3/4, but most state legislators are controlled by Republicans. So chances are they could get some conservative things passed. And what that means is the state reps could pass, with enough votes, they could pass new constitutional amendments. That's what we need to have happen. And term limits is such a popular one. I don't know, man, because like ultimately, yes or no on term limits, I'm going to go yes. But Rand Paul, I love Rand Paul. I don't know about Rand Paul for president, but I love him in his position. And if he was limited to 12 years... So Rand Paul is 61 years old. His name is Randall Paul. I mean, it makes sense. We call him Rand. We just can't call him Randy. So it looks like he's been in the Senate since 2011. So he's been in there 12 years. So a lot of when term limits is mentioned, they typically talk about 12 years. Collectively. Like you can do 6 in the Senate and then 3 terms in Congress, 2 terms in the Senate, or 6 terms in Congress. And he would be done. And we would lose his voice. It would be worth it to get rid of the entrenched officials that people just keep putting in there year after year. We can stop that. I would like to see the convention of the states. Perhaps what is needed is better language. I think there is some legislation on the books with regards to them profiting from their positions. They clearly do. Politicians and their immediate family should not be allowed to own stocks. Period. So when they get their inside tips, knowing because the legislation is coming or whatever, they buy in early. So they get our money. So our 401ks aren't as productive as they could be because the thieves in Washington take it. The Convention of the States can do something about this. Cheap shot. Biden allies go on the attack against the special counsel and the media. This is very interesting. So a report came out from the DOJ about his documents case, Biden. And he had documents laying around his properties that were classified that should put him in prison. That's what the DOJ said. They said he is too old and feeble. He's just gone. Saying that he's mentally... You'd just be punishing his body. Because mentally, he is not the same person he was that haphazardly collected documents and left them unsecured. Now, that's pretty scary for the President of the United States, as we mentioned earlier about the all the wars going on, and Kamala Harris. So I put in... So with all the wars going on, having a president of the United States that his own DOJ says not competent to stand trial, perhaps this is why. Because Kamala Harris is our vice president. So if Joe Biden would step aside or he dies in office, God forbid, we would have President Kamala Harris. Now, if that terrifies you from, listening to her speak, now she is a woman. As far as we know now. It could change. Things can change quickly. But she's a woman, and she's not white. She's a not white woman. Like, why wouldn't we want to have her as president?
Daily Show has, like many other US late-night programs, largely given up any pretense of trying to be funny and turned into yet another leftist propaganda outfit. But out of nowhere, they surprised everyone by putting together this hilarious compilation of Kamala Harris and the fictional Vice President, Selena Myers. So let's take a minute now and marvel
I don't know who Selena
at a
Myers
US
is. I don't know
comedy
what that
program
is.
that has managed to produce comedy.
My fellow Americans, words have many meanings, and sometimes instead of conveying our meaning, they can suggest other meanings.
When we talk about the children of the community, they are children of the community.
Well, we are the United States of America because we are united. And we are states.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time.
Whatever we have in store cannot be known. The past was once the future. The future is, I should say, unknown.
We gotta take this stuff seriously as you are, because you have been forced to have to take it seriously.
Obesity is a serious disease, and it needs to be taken seriously.
You need to get to go and need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work and get home.
I hope that clarifies.
But Kamala Harris, I mean, she stands within a hair's breadth of the presidency. I'm not sure if I've got a grab there for us. Oh, well, we might have it. Have we got it there?
It's a reflection of our moment and our time, right? And present culture is the way we express how we're feeling about the moment. And we should always find times to express how we feel about the moment that is a reflection of joy, because it comes in the morning.
Are you stupid or something?
Yep. Yeah, that pretty much that pretty much sums it up, ain't it? But here's a serious one.
I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is.
Well, Kamala Harris is not in love, most likely, because she's a whore. And, So after this damning report by the Department of Justice, Biden, press numbers right at the top. I had people texting me like, did you just see what Biden said? He's done. See, like, I want to do this timer right now. I'm at 23 minutes. And, like, I just sit here in silence and look things up. So a lot of it gets edited out. So I guess the my kitchen timer wasn't a great idea anyway.
This special prosecutor could have written the same report without using these words. Elderly man with a poor memory.
It's gratuitous.
Well,
and he knows it's gratuitous, and it was bad faith.
The truth hurts, and there was nothing gratuitous here. It's either Joe has a striking deficiency in recollection, or he had a solid grasp of all the details and should have been charged. But Hur's decision not to charge Biden was partly guided by the concern that the jury would have found him a sympathetic elderly man with a poor memory.
But that's not, when you commit a crime, I mean, there's a statute of limitations on some things. I'm no legal expert. Your mental state, that is for the jury to decide when they're giving you the penalty phase. If he's not mentally competent to stand trial, which of course he's not, he couldn't sit on the stand and answer questions.
But today, the so-called ethics experts dug in.
Oh, and that interview between Putin and Tucker was over 2 hours long. Tucker asked Putin why he invaded Ukraine. And he went into a half-hour-long thing, which I never listened to, didn't get a summation of. He went back like hundreds of years talking about the relationship between the region of Ukraine versus the region of Russia. Could have been bullshit, could have been propaganda, could have been lies. Probably so. But he went on for like a half hour about it. I don't know if Trump could go on a half hour about a single issue that wasn't just bravado. Actually, nuts and bolts. Biden clearly couldn't. He's not a smart man. He's never been a smart man. I still remember in 2012, Romney Ryan versus Obama Biden. And I was so looking forward because at that time, Ryan had not exposed himself on who he was, what kind of person he really was. And so I was so excited to see the Biden-Ryan debate because I was like, not that it really matters, but I loved Paul Ryan, and I was like, oh man, he's going to just make him look so bad. It was the exact opposite. Biden did great. It was like, I can't even explain how bad it was for Ryan. But in hindsight, he wasn't a man of conviction anyway, so it would have all been lies. See, this is part of the bad part about not being able to do research ahead of time. I don't want to watch the whole damn press conference to watch Biden embarrass our country. I'm trying to find a few clips.
For months when you were asked about your age, you would respond with the words, watch me. Many American people have been watching, and they have expressed concerns about your age.
That is your judgment. That is your judgment. That is not the judgment of the press.
They express concerns about your mental acuity. They say that you are too old. Mr. President, in December, you told me that you believe there are many other Democrats who could defeat Donald Trump. So why does it have to be you now? What is your answer to that question?
Because I'm the most qualified person in this country to be President of the United States and finish the job I started.
My gosh. My gosh. See, what's scary is he truly believes that. And he doesn't truly believe that because he's old and has dementia. He believes that because he's run for president 4 or 5 times. He truly believes that. He's not a smart man. You think you could find a Walmart door greeter who has better cognition than him? Of course you could. I don't know when I covered this. I don't know if it made air, quite honestly.
Local Walmart employee is the star of Monroe after a TikTok showing his dedication to the job went viral. Sophia Ridley has the story.
Tell me again, Mr. John. What is
on the dope.
When you on the dope, Mr. John?
Rain or sleet or snow, I'm on the dope.
You do.
I would take him over Biden right there. Because, see, the reason I would take that man over Biden, just right there, just that a few seconds. Now, this doesn't mean he's more mentally capable, cognitive necessarily than Biden, but roll the dice, he's more ethical, he's more of a moral person than Biden. Sight unseen, I would trust that man with our country faster than Biden.
Qualified person in this country to be President of the United States and finish the job I started.
Okay.
The conduct of the response in the Gaza Strip has been over the top. I think that, as you know, initially the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in. I talked to him. I convinced him to open the gate. I talked to Bibi to open the gate on the Israeli side. I've been pushing really hard to get humanitarian assistance in.
That's what he did. And apparently, this was in response to the report from the Department of Justice about his mental acuity. It was like 7:30 at night, and he doesn't do anything late at night. Apparently, he was just calling on people who were shouting out. He usually has a set list of questions curated for him. That wasn't the case. He's not going to be there much longer. We will have Kamala Harris as president. There's no way to avoid it. And then, in all likelihood, we have this to worry about.
The things that keep me up, because you don't have control over them. Mm-hmm. And you wonder, where are we in this? Where are our hearts? What's going to happen in this next election? I am terrified about what could possibly happen, because our leaders matter. Who we select, who speaks for us, who holds that bully pulpit. It affects us in ways that sometimes I think people take for granted.
It's coming. It's going to be Michelle Obama versus Donald Trump. And how in the world is Donald going to be Donald against her? She has not done much in her life. But I don't know how far along he can get on those attacks. Because she could just poke holes. She could just sit there. I haven't done much. Poke. I had 3 divorces. Stormy Daniels. I mean, one after another, and they wouldn't even be necessarily solid pokes. But when you have someone that America has a pretty positive image of, I think she's the most popular woman in the country. Trump's attacks are not going to land against her, and she could just poke. And it's those white women that are going to have to make the decision. That's why Donald Trump either has to pick Kristi Noem or he should pick Tulsi Gabbard. Because Tulsi Gabbard would get him some Democrats. Would get him some liberals, some libertarians. That's what he should do. I will stick to that until he makes a different decision, which of course he will. There hasn't been a lot of news. I haven't really heard anything out of Trump lately. He's just going through his courts and trials and shit. Supreme Court heard some kind of case this week. And I don't know if they even ruled, honestly. I'm assuming not. But either way, it was inconsequential if they did. So, we will realize how important that is once we feel the reverb, right? Because shit like that happens all the time. We don't know. Is this something we need to pay attention to or no? So RFK, I haven't heard a lot from him. He has slowed down on the podcast circuit. The Democratic, or the DNC, they just filed some kind of lawsuit against him, trying to keep him off. They're really trying to fight him, and which is a good sign, I think, for Trump, because their numbers must show that he's hurting Biden. Otherwise, they would let him keep going hurting Trump. So I have stated that RFK Jr. should not be president of the United States, but I like his ideas. He's kind of crazy. And I would love to see him in a Trump administration. Now, his son, Don Jr., just attacked him. But, hey, they do that in politics. I think, though, he was trying to create some separation. I think people who are against the deep state or the government generally, distrustful of the government, they like Trump. Then with all his baggage, if they can be given an option of RFK, that's what the fear was. And I think that's why Don Jr. kind of went on the attack. No, there's a lot more separation between RFK and Donald Trump, which there is. And then I also heard something that there's some movement where the Libertarian Party wants him to be their candidate, but he's not libertarian, so there's a little conflict there. But this is from the Rubin Report. The title of the video is, "This is easily the most important speech RFK Jr. has ever done," which doesn't say a lot, because this is the one and only video I've seen about this supposed speech. It hasn't made the news. But let's give it a listen.
We are told today that our nation is hopelessly divided. But I found something different as I travel this country.
There is another candidate that is still running, and is still running as an anti-deep state guy, and who does have some momentum. And in this case, I am talking about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He put out a video. You're going to have to bear with us here. It's a couple minutes long, but we discussed whether we were going to edit it down for this. I think it's worth watching the whole thing. And I just want you to listen to the messaging, because right now, what I'm sensing is that Trump's messaging is it's me, I'm back, you all love me, let's do it again. Like that there isn't necessarily we're gonna fix any of this or my behavior will be different or anything else. That's one version of it. And now I wanna listen to another version of a vision, right? And listen to RFK and his vision right here.
See now, so Dave Rubin used to be on the Young Turks. So he was like a classical liberal, libertarian type, and that hasn't really changed. He leans more conservative now because of his value on freedom, but at heart, he's still a liberal. It makes sense that RFK Jr. would be right up his alley. So I'm interested in hearing what the perspective is on this.
This is a day of affirmation, a celebration of liberty. We stand here in the name of freedom.
His father.
We are committed to peaceful and nonviolent change. We must recognize the full human equality of all of our people, not just to those of a particular religion, not just to those of a particular race, not just to the wealthy, but to all of the people. We must do it for the single and fundamental reason that it is the right thing to do.
I'm not liberal at all. I mean, you might be able to find a topic or two here that I'm like a little bit more flexible on. The idea of RFK as president is very interesting, and not now. Not now. Dude, where you been, man? Like, I mean, I surely would have traded RFK Jr. for Biden the last few years. Why didn't he run last time? In 2016, it was set up, so it is what it is. I mean, 2008. In 2008, I mean, I don't know what he was doing in his life, and I mean, for him to beat out Obama probably wouldn't have happened. But man, I surely 8 years of Obama or 8 years of RFK Jr., I think we'd have a different country. And I'm not even sure if it would be better. Maybe a lot worse. I have no idea, but...
A new twist this morning for the country's most famous political dynasty.
RFK Jr. plans
Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
independent on October 9th in the state
that it's time to heal a divided nation and return the power to the people.
Robert Kennedy Jr.
We are told today that our nation is hopelessly divided. But I found something different as I travel this country. I have witnessed an upwelling of optimism that I've never seen before. Something is stirring in us that says it doesn't have to be this way. And so I've come here today to declare our independence from the tyranny of corruption, which robs us of affordable lives, our belief in the future, and our respect for each other. But to do that, I must first declare my own independence. Independence from the Democratic Party and from all other political parties. I haven't made this decision lightly. It's very painful for me to let go of the party of my uncles, my father, my grandfather, and both of my great-grandfathers, but my sacrifice is nothing compared to the risk our founding fathers took when they signed the Declaration of Independence 247 years ago. They knew that if their revolution failed, every last one of them would be hanged. They chose to place everything on the line. When John Adams put his pen down after adding his signature to the Declaration, he turned to those present and he said to them, sink or swim, live or die, survive or perish. From this day on, I am with my country. I'm gonna make...
Stir something up in me from all the stuff what's going on at work. Don't laugh at me too hard, but I think I had a John Adams-esque moment this week. To be determined on the outcome, but
Make that same pledge to you today so that I can stand before you, as every leader should stand before you, free of partisan allegiance, free from the backroom deals, a servant only to my conscience, to my Creator, and to you. Every president enters office promising to unite the nation and to work with people from the other party across the aisle. None of them ever does it. They can't. They're already chosen a side. Well, I'm not going to have that problem. I'm going to build coalitions from both sides of the aisle. And except for the small minority of public officials who are actually corrupt, I'm going to tell you this secret. They too want liberation from the system that has captured them. And isn't that ultimately what we all want? Liberation from a system that robs us of our wealth, our health, our hope, our patriotism, our ideals, our freedoms, and ultimately our sense of ourselves as a good and capable people. Is healing our divided nation possible? Let's go take back our country. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Yes.
I declare my independence. I declare my...
That's all great. Important voice. That's the most important speech. I mean, the most important speech because that was him declaring his presidency as an independent, and that is likely going to affect the election, hopefully in a positive way. But as far as the divide in our country, it is what it is. When there is one side, I think once a human being has been growing in its mother's womb for 9 months, and that thing doesn't deserve dignity, doesn't deserve life, regardless of the opinions of the birthing person. When there's a side that wants to limit your free speech, when they call it disinformation, when you have a side that works with the tech companies that control so much of our lives, or not necessarily even control, but influential because we use them, they're in our hands or they're in our faces all the time. When that side, how do we get together? When you have a side that doesn't value life, there's no fixing that. I don't want to be friends with somebody like that. I don't want to have them over for dinner. We're not going to be Facebook friends. We're not going to... I don't give a shit about Facebook friends, but you know what I mean. I and people like me will not be your friends. I've been commanded to love my neighbor. And love comes in a lot of different forms. It is not just a big hug saying everything's okay and I accept everything about you. Love is stopping people from killing their children. Love is stopping people from mutilating themselves. If I see my nephew about to run into the road with an oncoming car, I'm not going to try to persuade them. I love him. I will trip him even if he falls on his face. Have him avoid that oncoming vehicle. So these talks about bringing us back together ain't going to happen until we start winning a little bit more. Because coming us back together would be accepting immorality as part of the American way of life. And there are certain people, like myself, that just are not going to ever be okay with that. There's just no. All right. So to close things out. Okay, you know what? So I was going to close this thing out by this tweet by Rand Paul, but it was reposted by Austin Peterson. Austin Peterson is a libertarian, and he's from Missouri. He says this is Jeff City. I need to find out where this guy is. I want to hear him speak. I want to see what he's about. He has a show, 7 to 9 a.m. on Rumble, every Monday through Friday. Rumble! I really enjoy... I love that there's Rumble. But, okay, Austin Peterson. I type in Austin Peterson to Rumble, and their search is horrible. Slightly offensive. I'm going to subscribe to him. I have no idea what he's going to say, but... Okay, so I go to his 4P4 Liberty. I missed the game. There's a Blues game today. I need to take a nap. Austin Peterson. So Justin Peterson comes up. Well, they're showing me who Justin Peterson is. Followed by Chris Christie. And I've done that before. For videos for this channel, I've been trying to let me use Rumble instead of YouTube. I mean, they're more on the side of free speech. It's not the most popular site just yet, but I can hardly ever find videos to use in my videos. And I'm trying to find Austin Peterson, and I don't see him. And he's run for president of the United States. He was a libertarian candidate. I don't know, last go round or the time before that, with the COVID shenanigans, they may have changed that. But oh, here's some stuff about Jordan Peterson. AP for Liberty. Austin Peterson for Liberty. Neat. Ooh, aliens. Wow. People, aliens. That's not fun. All right. I will check him out. But anywho. Rand Paul. This spending bill funnels $60 billion on top of the previous $113 billion directly into the coffers of a notoriously corrupt regime. One of the many egregious allocations of your hard-earned money, $300 million to help Ukraine protect its borders and promote the rule of law. Thank you, Rand Paul. One of the few fighting for us. So that's all I got today. And hopefully I can get this one out. See, I'm at 59 minutes right now. And we'll see how much this gets out of done. Probably quite a bit. So I'm glad to be back. And hopefully my issues resolve itself and I can give you a better report on what's going on. But if you see injustice in the world and you're not in position to address it, to say something, to speak out, it's not a good thing, and you have failed, and many people fail, and I didn't realize I had the ability, the strength, the courage, the flexibility to stand up for what was right. I did. I don't know how it's going to turn out. That's what I'll let you guys know of. That's why it's good to be smart and save and have alternative sources of income and having a moral compass. That's what those things are very important. Because it's soul crushing. If you see injustice, you see evil, and you just have to swallow it so you can keep the electricity on, that's soul crushing. Soul crushing. And that's probably by design. Most people in this country get bi-weekly payments. We have monthly bills. And they're coming. It's coming after you one way or another. So you look, anyway, you say, I'll just shut up. I got bills to pay, and I'll get out of this someday. We compromise, and our moral fabric as a society ends up like Joe Biden's brain. We got to stop this. We got to look for opportunities to do what's right. Some people are never going to be in a position to stand up. Everyone can do the right thing at some point throughout the day. Keep that in mind. We have to make a difference. We have to course correct. And we can have a great world again. And any of you Christians that just put their head in the sand and say, hey, well, I'm just here for the next, I'm just waiting for the next lifetime. Is that loving your brother? Is that what God said? Nope, it's not. So, that's all I got. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time.
Watch the door. I mean, it's routine. Business as usual. In, out, hello, goodbye, and that's all there is to it.
This is your life, and it's ending 1 minute at a time.
This war stops now.
End the war. Bring freedom to our people.
No more tricks. No more lies. Only truth.
This is where we hold them! This is where we fight!